What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. Today we have a really awesome interview with UFC fighter Matt the Steamroller Frevola. Huge Mets fan. He's been out here with us at Citi Field all day. We've been doing the estimate. He's been the judge. It's been an eventful day, and Matt, we're super excited to have you here to talk about your career and talk about being a lifelong Mets fan. I mean, you're rocking the stuff, orange and blue, top to bottom. How's it feel to be at Citi Field right now?
Oh my God, this is awesome. You know, I love Citi Field. I'm a lifelong Mets fan. I love the Mets. And what's better than just spending the day at Citi Field with you guys?
Absolutely, we appreciate that. We're definitely going to get to your UFC career after this, but first we want to start Mets talk. We know you're a lifelong Mets fan, grew up on Long Island. What are your expectations for the team this year? Are you excited?
Oh yeah, I'm so pumped. And expectations are World Series. You know, we got the lineup, we got the team. So I'm excited. You know, I'm excited to start the season and get it rolling.
You catch many games. I know you're a local guy, so how many times you come out to Citi Field, do you think, during the season?
I come out as much as possible. So, you know, right now I'm in fight camp. I got this big fight coming, so I'm so dialed in. But after I handle business, May 6th, you know, you're going to see me at Citi Field a lot.
Well, what's your favorite era of Mets baseball? Mark and I grew up like kind of those mid-2000s time, but like when you think about like when you were like your biggest Mets fan self, when was that? What years?
It had to be, you know, right, like beginning of the 2000s, you know, end of the 90s. And me and my brother, I got a twin brother. We grew up at Shea Stadium. You know, me, my dad, my brother, we had seats right on first base. And we were at Shea Stadium all the time, just watching the Mets, cheering them on and loving baseball.
Shout out to your brother Jimmy. He's been here as well, helping out with Estimate. We
Shout out,
appreciate it. Who is your favorite Mets player of all time? I know every Mets fan, I feel like, depending on what age, you kind of fall into a different player.
Yeah.
Mine's Piazza.
That's right.
James is David Wright. Who's yours?
You know, I love David Wright, but me growing up, I was a third baseman, and I loved Edgardo Alfonso.
Yeah,
he's a good one.
He was the
Deep
man.
track.
Fonzie. Yeah. We met Fonzie at Old Timers Day. Good
Nice.
dude, and he
Nice dude.
just loves baseball. He's a baseball guy as well.
Yeah. Do you have any great memories? Like what's the top memory of your like Mets watching life being at Citi Field or Shea Stadium?
You know, it had to be Shea Stadium. You know, like I said, we had seats right behind first base, and there was one game. Me and my brother, we were little kids. We were cute little kids, and we got 8 foul balls.
That's unreal.
We had 8 foul balls, and I would say after like the 5th foul ball, the crowd started booing us. We just kept raking in these foul balls. Like after they would warm up, the first baseman would toss it out to us, and then we just started having to throw out the foul balls to everybody else. But we had the record of 8 foul balls, so that was unreal.
That's awesome. It could be like double trouble too. Both 8, like Pesky can kind of move around, like play your game.
Yep. Except John Olerud never threw us the ball.
Who was feeding you the balls that day?
You know, even a lot of guys, man. Todd Zeal was always throwing them.
Shout out Todd Zeal.
Yeah, shout out Todd Zeal.
Actually, our first interview we did when we got with the Mets was Todd Zeal.
Yeah.
So that's actually kind of a funny little combination there. Have you gotten a foul ball at a game since? Because, I mean, it seems like you're a little bit of a ball magnet.
No, man, I haven't. I think it was just when I was a cute little chubby kid, I used to just rake them in, but I'm not as cute anymore, I guess.
I can't even believe that there was ever a time you were a chubby kid. It's nuts. Did you get to any games last year?
Yeah, you know, I got to go to the game, and they actually gave us a field pass, so it was the first time I was on the field, and that's when I actually met Alex Cohen, and I really had a great conversation with her, and then they invited us up to watch the game in their suite, in the Cohen suite, and it was an experience like I'll never forget. As soon as I walk up there, like I see Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, just chilling. You know, I just finished the Karate Kid season 3, so I walk up there, I'm just like, hey, Daniel-san, and just hanging out, you know, with Alex, with Steve, with Ralph, and you know, I had my brother with me, I had my dad with me. It was unreal being able to watch a game up there with the Cohens, and you know, the Cohens have done such a great job with the Mets and the organization. I cannot wait for this year and for the future.
Dude, we're so excited. We're happy that they're here too, because it's been a great time to be a Mets fan, just in general, with how good the team's been, the success, the players that they're bringing in. Is there anybody you're particularly excited to see play this year that's, you know, new to the team?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Senga.
Yeah.
To see how he adjusts. Coming from Japan, I think I've heard like something like the mound is like shorter in Japan, and then we've heard about this like ghost forkball.
Yep.
I cannot wait to see Kota Senga slinging the ball this year.
You said Kota is going to be your favorite new player. Excited to watch. But who's your favorite player in the team right now?
I love Alonso. I love Alonso.
How could you not?
Yeah, he's the man. You can't not love him.
Which guy you think on the team could be the best UFC fighter?
Good question.
Best UFC fighter, man. I think it's got to be Big Volgy.
Yeah.
Big Vogelback. Vogelback definitely cut. I know that he packs a punch, and I think people are sleeping on his speed after that. Watching that commercial, I know he's gonna be stealing some bases.
Gonna steal one finally.
Yeah. And
He's got the power. He's got the speed. I think he could knock a couple people out.
we asked a lot of the players during spring training, just like random TikTok stuff to post, if there was a zombie apocalypse, what teammate you want to fight with. And Vogie was the second most popular answer behind Pete, for sure.
There you go.
A little pack to the punch. But now that's a great way to transition into talking about some UFC stuff. You mentioned before the fight at the Prudential Center, May 6th, correct?
May 6th.
May 6th, who are you fighting?
I'm fighting Drew Dober.
Yeah.
And this is a big fight. He's ranked number 14 in the world.
Wow.
And this fight gets me to where I want to be. Ever since I started this, I want to be a world champ. I want to fight the best guys in the world, test myself, test my skills against the best guys in the world. And I'm coming off of a 2-fight winning streak, 2 first-round knockouts over undefeated opponents. And I told the UFC I wanted a big fight, and we got the big fight.
Oh yeah, no, we remember. That's actually how we found out about you. Where we were watching your fight at Madison Square Garden. You came out to Narcos.
Yep.
We're like, they're talking about how big of a Met fan you were on the broadcast. Hit up Vito, our producer. I was like, we gotta get this guy on. Like, this dude's bleeding orange and blue. And watching your fight, I mean, like you said, first round knockout, absolutely dominated the guy. It was crazy. How do you even get into the world of being a UFC or an MMA fighter?
Yeah, I like to say, I didn't choose the fight life chose me. I was always an athlete growing up. Like I said, I got a twin brother, played baseball all growing up, played football all growing up, and then I wrestled in high school. And I wasn't even, a phenomenal wrestler. I was always like a good wrestler, not a great wrestler. But and then I found Matt Serra, I found Ray Longo. I started doing jiu-jitsu. I started training, and started taking amateur fights, winning, went pro. Started winning pro fights, and the dream was always to get to the UFC, and now we're here.
We saw you train. Just mentioned the Matt Serra, the Serra Longo gym. We saw that Chris Weidman also trains there. What's it like training with just a former world champion, like legend of the UFC?
Oh man, Chris Weidman's the man, and he's hilarious too. Like he's like so much of a ball buster. Like he's a Long Island guy, and watching Matt Serra, take out GSP when GSP was the greatest of all time, and then watching Chris Weidman take out Anderson Silva when Anderson Silva was the best. Yeah. And then these two guys are Long Island guys. It's inspiring. And now watching Aljamain Sterling, the UFC bantamweight, champion of the world. And these guys are all, grew up for where I'm from. If they can do it, why not me? It's inspiring.
Were there any UFC fighters, or I guess maybe when you were a little bit younger, guys that you looked up to, maybe you got to meet them, any experience like that?
Yeah, those 3 guys there, Matt Serra, Chris Weidman, Aljamain Sterling, just because they're from Long Island and because now I could call them friends, teammates, mentors. But also, I was a big BJ Penn guy back in the day. Yeah. BJ Penn's a Hawaii guy, he was always just scrap. I love that, just scrap. And that's kind of what I do, I just scrap.
Who would you say, just talking about UFC history, is on your Mount Rushmore of UFC fighters all time?
Yeah, I think I have a biased Mount Rushmore, because I'm a local guy. So I'm going to throw our 3 Long Island champions on there. Matt Serra, Chris Weidman. I'm throwing Aljo on there because Aljo's the man. Yeah. And then we get one more?
Yeah, one more.
One more, man. One more. I think, You know, I'm an old school guy. He might not be UFC. He's not UFC, but he's an all-time MMA GOAT, and I love his style. Fedor Emelianenko.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I just loved his, he had a stone face. He showed no emotion, and he was just in there to scrap and fight. And I just loved the no emotion about him.
Yeah.
You know, he was right down to business.
You were talking about scrapping. You were talking about preparing for your upcoming fight. We love to ask the major league players about their grind through the minor leagues because it's just a lot of hard work for not really any payoff necessarily just yet. What's it like to train getting ready for a UFC fight? I got to imagine it's unbelievably tough.
Man, you know, it's tough because I'm naturally a big guy.
Yeah.
You know, naturally I'm 185, 190 pounds like that. And I fight at 155 pounds.
Dang.
So, you know, it takes time, it takes discipline, and you know, there's been many times I've come to Citi Field and I wasn't able to eat the steak fritas, you know, and no sausage and peppers.
It's tough. It's good food.
It's tough, but I say, no sacrifice, no glory. You know, I make the sacrifice, I put in the work. I always have, a 8 to 10 week fight camp where I'm completely focused, completely dedicated. I'm training twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day.
Wow.
I'm sparring twice a week. I'm doing jiu-jitsu 3 to 4 times a week. I'm boxing twice a week. I'm hitting mitts, 3 times a week. I'm doing strength conditioning 3 times a week. You know, it's a full-time gig. And then you got to add in the nutrition because I got to lose weight, but I also have to eat enough food to be able to fuel my training. And then, there's always hiccups. There's always little injuries. There's always, I got to take care of my body. I broke this hand 4 times before, but that's why we developed the left hand. That's why I developed the left. So, it's a grind. And, but, what else would I rather be doing?
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish that I was better at baseball and better at baseball than I was at fighting, but it is what it is.
I gotta say, sitting here this close to you and watching you cock that fist
Yeah.
is wow. It's kind of terrifying.
Easy a little bit.
You're 6 weeks out from the fight right now. You talked about the rigors of the physical training. How does the mental aspect of the training change between being 15, 12, 10, and 6 weeks out? When is your moment to get psyched up? When do you start getting mad? When do you have to be serene? How do you just judge the mental aspect of it?
Yeah, fighting is honestly just as much mental as it is physical. You could have one of the best fight camps of your life, and then you could step into that cage and kind of shit the bed. But through my hard work, through my fight camp, that's what builds my confidence. I wouldn't have the confidence to step into a cage and fight the best guys in the world if I didn't put in the work. I have the confidence to do that because I know that I put in the work. I left no stone unturned. I always say there's no easy way out. There's no shortcut homes. I put in the work, and then I have the confidence. I know that I'm ready. And I go in there, and I'm prepared for 15 minutes of fury, 15 minutes of war. I'm always prepared for that. So I'm ready to go.
I've always wanted to know, what is it like to get punched in the face? Never done it, and I don't want you to do it to me. I'm not asking, but how do you even do you practice getting punched in the face? How does that work?
Listen, I spar twice a week, and I'm gonna say I get punched in the face every sparring session. And if you've never been punched in the face, you should get punched in the face.
I don't know about that.
Because there's I'm telling you,
training
man.
Punch maybe.
Once you start training, once you get punched in the face, and you realize that you're not made of glass, it just opens up a whole new world. You got your chin down, you got your eyes up, you got your hands up. You could take a hit. You get knocked out by the punch you don't see coming.
Interesting.
And that's why through sparring, you learn to see everything. You work your awareness. Coach Ray Longo is big on awareness. That's why he wants me to box a lot. He wants me to spar a lot because he wants me to build up that awareness. So I can see. I know that this guy in front of me has 2 arms and 2 legs, just like me. He's going to throw nothing that I haven't seen before because I've sparred so many rounds. I got rounds in the bank. I got my chin down. I got my hands up and I got my eyes up. I see everything. You trust your eyes. And then sometimes you get hit. But as long as you got that chin down, you could take a shot, bro. You could take a shot.
Did you have like a moment, whether it be like a fight in the UFC, a fight before in training, where it like became very clear like how good you can be and what you needed to do? Like, is there something that really sticks out to you? Something that was said, some shot you took and got back up from?
Yeah, well, I'll say when I was an amateur fighter, and the first thing, I ever really got out of fighting, when you're an amateur, you're fighting for free. There's been many fights where I've been fighting in, Florida strip club parking lot, where they just set up a cage in the parking lot of a strip club, many of those, which were all fun, but my fourth amateur fight, I got the opportunity to go to Costa Rica, and I fought for the Costa Rican amateur title against their 9-0 hometown hero who had 9 knockouts, and they flew me down to Costa Rica, and I've never been paid for a fight, nothing. I was like, yo, I get a free flight to Costa Rica? Hell yeah. They're like, oh yeah, you gotta fight this 9-0, 9 knockouts Costa Rican hometown hero. And it was in a bullfighting arena at Cocoa Beach of Costa Rica.
Was it still dirt in the ground?
Oh yeah, there was, but they set up a ring. It was in a ring, and it was outside.
That's sick.
I remember this guy came out and he rocked me right off the bat, and he hit me good, and then it actually started raining on us while we were fighting. And this guy was a stand-up guy, and back then, I was more of a wrestler back then, and since it started raining, it got slippery.
Yeah.
So I took him down so easily. I was like, the fight gods had my back for that fight. And, I ended up winning that fight, giving that guy his first loss, and won my first amateur title. And I remember that night being like, I can do this. I could go pro. I can make this my life. And I really started believing in myself. Before that, it was a hobby. I was a tough guy, kid, having fun with it. Yeah. But after that fight, I started to believe.
You gotta believe.
You gotta believe.
You gotta believe.
You gotta believe.
You talked about getting flown out to Costa Rica as your first paid experience. We saw that you were on the McGregor card. You got to go to Fight Island out in Abu Dhabi, right? The UAE. How was that experience? I saw on Instagram you had the picture with McGregor. Being around someone like him and just being in that atmosphere, how different was it?
It was so cool, man. Especially, it was during COVID. The world's shut down, and Dana White decides to buy an island in Abu Dhabi and pump out UFC fights throughout the pandemic. And I saw it as my Mortal Kombat. I was like, all right, we're going to Fight Island, and it was a huge opportunity. I was so pumped to be able to get that fight, and then I'm out there, and we're in the hotel. And there was a main pool, and then there was a private pool where not a lot of people went at. And I went to the private pool because I was wanted to swim some laps. And as soon as I get there, I see Conor McGregor just chilling. So I was able to go up and talk to him a little bit, and kind of he was actually very humble. He had a very thick Irish accent that I almost couldn't understand what he was saying. But you see the persona that he puts on, but talking to him, fighter to fighter, he was very humble and he was very cool. So, I'm definitely a McGregor fan.
Fighting in Abu Dhabi, that's as far away from home as you almost could possibly be. You won a fight at Madison Square Garden very recently, fighting at home. What was it like? Because it was your second fight in MSG. What are the pressures like fighting at home, knowing you got people out there ready to watch you?
A fight's a fight to me. It doesn't matter if it's Abu Dhabi, if it's in my backyard, if it's at MSG. I'm standing in that cage. I got my opponent across from me, and I got a ref who's going to pull me off of his limp body.
That's awesome.
A fight's a fight. And like I said before, I put in the work. I know I'm ready. I'm prepared for a 15-minute war if it has to be. And win, lose, or draw, I'm drinking a beer afterwards.
Amen to that one.
Yes, just being able to hear your mindset behind everything, even you talking about getting punched in the face is a mental thing. I think maybe for the outside looking in, don't realize yeah, of course, physically gifted, talented, all that stuff, but the mental side of actually being a professional fighter like that is just so different.
Yeah, like I said before, it's just as much mental as it is physical. And, you have to prepare both. And I do prepare, even sparring sometimes. I'll put on Narcos. I'll put on the trumpets and walk out. I'm always wearing my UFC fight shirts. I take my shirt off. I make sure my sparring partner takes his shirt off. Yeah. We have a whole crowd at the gym for Saturday sparring, and everybody's watching. All eyes, and it really gives you that fight feel. And that's also training your mental as you're training your physical. After every sparring session, after every fight I have, I throw my hands up in victory. I point to the sky. I thank God for the victory, for being here. And, it's my routine.
You mentioned before how when you started out, you're much more of a wrestler. You had a jiu-jitsu background. Now you're training, trying to become more aware, a little more boxing. How would you describe your style as someone who's maybe not as familiar with the UFC?
My style is, they call me the steamroller for a reason. I'm coming in there for the finish. I'll choke someone's head off. I'll knock somebody out. I'll break somebody's arm. I love jiu-jitsu. I love wrestling. I love boxing. I love Muay Thai. And I love mixed martial arts. I love how you take each aspect, each martial arts, and form it to make your own style. You form it to beat a specific opponent. And that's what makes it so interesting. One guy could be a stand-up guy and the other guy's a wrestler. Or one guy's a wrestler, one guy's a jiu-jitsu fighter. One guy's a kickboxer, he's a boxer. And they say styles make fights. And my style, you're never gonna see a boring fight.
No, I can vouch that. When we watched, we're like, oh, this is electric.
This is the one.
This is the guy we want on the podcast to talk to us about being a UFC fighter, being a Mets fan, local guy as well. We'll wrap it up here with the last question. New York guy. You gotta know where's like the best pizza, best bagel. Where are you going?
Oh man, I love pizza, and there's no better spot than Sinelli's Pizza.
Here we go.
Sinelli's Pizza in Garden City. They make me a pie, a nice grandma pie after every fight. Yeah. And I'm already looking forward to it. I'm 6 weeks out. No more pizza for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But that's something that puts my mind at ease as well, because I know win, lose, or draw, I'm having some Sinelli's Pizza afterwards. So.
Hey man, it's the little things that keep us going there. Everybody, Matt the Steamroller Frevola, May 6th, Prudential Center. Get ready, pay-per-view, go out, support the Mets fan, support the New York guy. That's the interview.
Thanks, Matt.
Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.
You gotta believe.